It's Wednesday night.
The New York Theater Barn
is live!
Hello, everyone.
We are back. Good evening and welcome to New York Theater Barn's New York Series Live. I'm Joe Barros, the artistic director.
And I am Jen Sandler, and I am the associate artistic director. And it is a lovely fall night, my favorite.
It sure is. And tonight we're excited to present excerpts from the new musicals A Walk on the Moon and We Live in Cairo. A Walk on the Moon is inspired by the beloved Miramax film that starred Diane Lane, Viggo Mortensen, Liev Schreiber, and Anna Paquin. And We Live in Cairo, inspired by the 2011 Egyptian Revolution, is written by the Lazor brothers.
Yes, this is a really special group of shows, and I'm so thrilled for tonight. And as we've said, welcome to the 13th season of our new work series and the 23rd since March installment of our virtual series. It is our lucky 23rd edition on September 23rd, which I think is pretty cool. I don't know about you.
Yeah, that's super cool. Our 23rd show on the 23rd of September. It's like that line in Little Shop of Horrors, but not the original production, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the movie. Yeah, it's super cool. So tell us what's happened since March, Jen.
Yeah, since March, a lot of things have happened. We have all our virtual programming combined, presented 48 new musicals and counting, lifted up the work of 83 writers, and made space for over 200 artists. And that's my favorite number to say every week, and that's in counting. And we've partnered with Broadway On Demand like we do every week to stream our series to them.
That's right. We are grateful for our partnership with Broadway On Demand. As an anti-racist nonprofit theater company that actively seeks out and curates important culture-shifting stories from communities we need to hear from, our team has been meeting to discuss ways for our organization to further develop anti-racist culture. Black Lives Matter.
Yes, we have carefully and thoughtfully donated a percentage of our donations each month since June to a different charity that supports diversity, equity, and civil rights. Black Lives Matter.
Here to tell us more about this initiative and how you can support original live theater is our newest board member, Robin Gorman Newman.
Hi, my name is Robin Gorman Newman, and I'm so glad you could join us tonight. I'm coming to you from my home in Great Neck, Long Island. I'm a mom and the founder of motherhoodlater.com, a worldwide organization for those parenting later in life. I'm also the author of How to Marry a Mensch, serving as the inspiration for a new musical in early development. And I'm a Tony-nominated producer. I am also the newest board member of New York Theater Barn, and I'm thrilled to be involved with an organization that is fostering community and doing so much to help lift up so many artists during this challenging time. The New York Theater Barn family is excited about tonight's new culture-shifting musicals, A Walk on the Moon and We Live in Cairo. We are proud to lift up the work of Pamela Gray, Paul Scott Goodman, and Daniel and Patrick Lazor. New York Theater Barn is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, so your gifts tonight are all tax deductible. A portion of this month's donations will help go to support Black Theater United and the League of Women Voters in the United States. Thank you so much for your support of live theater, and enjoy the show.
Thank you, Robin. We're so thrilled to have you on our team.
Yes, Robin is such a force. She, as a female producer like me, she's someone you should know. She's such a special person.
Absolutely. And this month, we are proud to support Black Theater United and the League of Women Voters in the United States.
Yes. So last week's New Work series was a special one. We featured the new musicals Wonder Boy and Love, Rosie. Here is a clip from last week's presentation of Jamie Jarrett's Wonder Boy. Take a look.
So is this saved? Or am I stuck in a body I thought one day I could forget? So I actually started writing the show in direct response to this phrase I was hearing constantly about trans people, which is that trans people are born in the wrong body. While that certainly might feel super accurate for some trans individuals, for me, it didn't feel accurate. And I felt like it painted my whole experience in a negative light. And I never wanted to see my body as wrong. I just wanted to see it as complex. Musical Theater Factory is psyched about any work that is going to dismantle oppressive ideologies. Like, that is the main thing that I see theater for. Keep giving voice to trans folks in really complex ways that don't only focus on physically transitioning.
What would they call me if they knew I could do this?
Flying guy, Superboy, Superman.
That's already taken. It's gotta be the perfect title. And wouldn't hurt if it's right in the name that I'm a guy. It might be nice to not have to answer questions and to literally just fly away whenever duty calls. They would not know a thing about me except that I am Wonder Boy.
Because of these automatic self-healing powers, he is not going to be able to get the gender-affirming surgery that he was planning on getting. Cause if you listen, you'll only feel the space between the body and everything it needs. The space is a growing infinity.
Jamie's show is just so special, and I just can't wait to see what happens next with it.
Me too. I've really been thinking about those songs all week.
Yeah.
From last week's presentation of Zach Zadek and Peter Duchan's Love, Rosie. Take a look.
Like, it's one of those underlying sort of stories that is really special as a book and as a movie, but you see sort of, it could be a completely different thing as a musical.
Cool. And how did Peter Duchan become to be a part of the team?
Peter Duchan, very talented book writer. Honestly, Peter had been somebody who I knew his work from Dogfight, so this was sort of the perfect vessel for us to try collaborating. Who are the most important people in our lives, whether it's in a romantic context, the context of friends, something in between, as it is in many cases for our two main characters. But that moment when you see somebody after so long and have to ask yourself, just based on the sheer coincidence of it, is this a sign from the universe in some crazy way? Is there a sign here, or are we just reading into it? And that's very much what the song and very much what the show is about.
Time slows when you're growing up, and life keeps going, it keeps going. I know when something's supposed to happen, it's not a love story. He's with somebody else at the time that he sings this, and he's just had this thing with Rosie, and it's very dramatic and complicated, and you'll have to see the full show. It's past, but you still feel like safe, feel like good, feel like you're still the one, feel like you pull me back. The more I try to run away, I guess that's what you do. The more that I leave, the more that I want you.
I love Zach. Zach is a friend, and I also love this show so much, and I love Peter.
Yeah.
And I love Rosie.
By the way, it looks like we have Pamela Gray in the house, and it looks like her sound is working.
Amazing. We had a possible pivot to make the production switch places, but I think we can go on as planned. Yay!
Fantastic. Well, then now let's get started. Our first new musical.
The power of live theater, seriously.
That's right. This is what happens when you make a really important and special writer become a stage manager. and a costume designer and a lighting designer. So now let's get started. Our first new musical tonight is A Walk on the Moon, which has a book and additional lyrics by Pamela Gray, who also wrote the film screenplay, and music and lyrics by Paul Scott Goodman.
Yes, A Walk on the Moon is a heart-stirring new musical that transports audiences to the summer of 1969, where man is about to take his first steps on the moon. Pearl Kantrowitz, a dutiful housewife, is spending another season with her husband and family in the Catskills just miles from Woodstock. Sensing the change in the air and longing to take a giant leap of her own, Pearl begins a love affair with a free-spirited traveling salesman. But when romance pulls her away from the life she's always known, Pearl must decide if she's truly ready to leave her world behind. So we're going to have Paul join us first, my friend Paul Scott Goodman, but it looks like Pam will be ready to join us in a minute. So we're going to start with Paul. Hi, Paul.
Hey, Paul. How's it going?
What?
It's so good to have you here. I'm a huge fan of your work. I love your shows, Bright Lights, Big City and Rooms. I would be remiss to say that I haven't sung in the shower, Coma Baby, and Bring the Future Faster. So those are things that happen in my life. I love your work.
I have not done that, but I'm very fortunate to have worked with you.
Well, that's almost as good.
So before we dive into a little conversation with you and Pamela and your team, this story takes place in 1969. And 1969 saw the Manson murders, the Stonewall riots, the Woodstock Festival, Man Landing on the Moon. The Who released the rock opera Tommy, which I love. Richard Nixon was the 37th president of the United States. The Black Panthers ignited the Black Power movement. Interracial marriage had only been recently legalized the year before, and there were large anti-Vietnam war protests. In fact, your song, Something New, references some of these historical events. Needless to say, change was in the air for an evolving America. In 1969, Americans were fighting against police brutality. They were fighting for racial and gender equality and searching for peace through music and peaceful protests. And it actually feels remnant of the broken country that we are currently living in.
Mm-hmm.
So this musical was first a film written by Pamela. And you were both separately inspired to adapt this film into a musical. So can you tell us a little bit about that and what inspired you?
And I'm also going to bring on the great Pamela Gray now as well. So here is Pamela Gray.
Okay. Okay. Technical problems are over.
This is live theater virtually. Things happen, but we are all here together now.
Okay.
So I know the two of you have a lot of history with this show. This was your beloved film before it was the musical it is now, Pamela. So how did all of this come to be that you started working together?
Jack DePalma was the guy who started.
The movie had come out. Do you hear an echo or am I okay?
You're good to go.
Okay.
Yes.
About a year after the movie came out, I was contacted by other producers who are not our producers now. And they had the idea to turn it into a musical. And can you still hear me? I took out my headset. Okay. So, and
I think you need to keep your
a little.
I think you need to keep your headset in.
Ahead of me, and they had already brought in Paul as a composer. And can you still hear me? Okay.
So I think you need to keep your headset in, Pamela, or there's going to be an echo.
They had brought Paul in.
You're good to go now.
And he had already written a song or two, and it wound up falling out with these producers. And Paul stayed in touch with me through the years and kept saying, what can we do? And I finally said, all right, let's do something. And he mentioned a friend of his was a theater director. And I didn't hear the name. I couldn't understand his Scottish accent. And it turned out to be Michael Greif. And so we went into development, the three of us. Paul brought in the Hendels, Ruth and Steve, and we worked with Michael until Dear Evan Hansen, and then we got the wonderful Cheryl Keller. So it had two histories.
And Paul, what speaks to you about this movie? Why did you want to musicalize it?
It was about love and about music and about change, about turmoil, all the things that we're thinking about now. I think they were thinking about then. Also, it was a good chance to work with a Hollywood screenwriter, which I'd never done before.
And how do you think, you have one of the best, your scores are always so amazing. How do you think this score in particular has elevated the story?
What was that? What did you say?
How has your score elevated this story in particular? Because I think your scores are always so particular and nuanced.
Well, Pam writes in a way that's very detailed and easy to write. And so, she was giving me really good situations, historical situations, actually. So I always thought if I could write some decent songs, I had a chance of passing the test of time.
Yeah.
And I think this...
Oh, sorry.
I just was going to say, I think this movie has truly passed the test of time because it's something when you bring it up, so many people think about it so fondly and it's something they're so excited about still.
Yeah, so many people like it. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to talk about the two inspirations for the movie, which just translated into the musical. I spent all my summer in the Catskills at these bungalow colonies. And there were two inspirations. One was that so many people didn't know about the bungalow colony world, which was a working class Jewish world. It wasn't like the big hotels. And it was only women and children during the week, and men came up on the weekends. So I wanted to show that world, and I had a very distinct memory, which I think is the fulcrum of our show. I was in the swimming pool with the bubbies playing mahjong and the moms playing cards. And through the chain link fence, I saw the hippies walking to the Woodstock Festival. A lot of people don't know that the festival was not in Woodstock. It was in the midst of all these bungalow colonies. And I wanted to throw myself through that fence. I was literally on the wrong side of history. And that's what our main character goes through. She's got a teenage daughter living in the summer of '69 who is part of, in her mind, the revolution. And here's this working class Jewish housewife who is separated from that world completely. And gradually, through the influence of the summer itself, the walk on the moon, the daughter, and the blouse man, who's the hippie she has the affair with, she wants to get on the other side of the fence. And I think Paul really grabbed that and started from that place.
Yeah, I grabbed her on the wrong side of the fence.
I love how you said that this happened because you were on the wrong side of history. That's delicious. You, Paul, seem to have a really exciting collaboration, which began at New York Stage and Film's Powerhouse Theater at Vassar, which is a very exciting beginning for your show. Jen, did you want to talk about the others?
Yeah, so I know after Vassar, you had a development at New York Theater Workshop. Tell us about after that. You had a production out west in San Francisco.
Oh, that was
ACT.
Yeah, you had a production of the ACT, and then you have a production that was scheduled to happen this spring at the George Street Playhouse in New Jersey, and it is scheduled to happen next year now, hopefully.
Hopefully.
2029, I think.
No.
We actually have...
I was just going to say, for those people who are tuning in who don't know what San Francisco's ACT is, that's San Francisco's American Conservatory Theater, which is completely different from George Street Playhouse.
Yes.
So we actually have a video from David Saint, the George Street Playhouse artistic director, we're going to play, and then we're going to bring some other guests of your team.
Hi, I'm David Saint, the artistic director of the George Street Playhouse. From the moment I first heard a reading of the new musical A Walk on the Moon, I couldn't wait to produce it in our brand new theater in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Unfortunately, we had to delay our launch, because of the COVID epidemic or pandemic, but we look forward, along with the Hendels, in presenting to you this wonderful, funny, moving new show, and to see what happens when Cheryl Kaller, the talented Cheryl, and her magnificent team of artists bring this to life on our stage. So take care, and I hope to see us all together when in person we can all take a walk on the moon.
Wow. Well, like you said, we're all excited to take a walk on the moon. And now joining us to tell us more about the development of the show and its evolution is creative team members, Tony-nominated director Cheryl Kaller and music supervisor Greg Anthony Raston.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us.
So Cheryl, you're Tony nominated for last fall, and you develop rich new plays and new musicals. So a project like this wouldn't be any different. Tell us a bit about how you got involved in your journey with the show.
Firstly, I want to say that one of the greatest things, thank you for having us here. And one of the greatest things about our business is that Michael Greif kind of blessed me. Michael had hit a crossroads with having Evan Hansen and another music, Warpaint, happening, 2 trains. And, you can only have 2 trains running. My agent, I was shopping in Nordstrom with my daughter in Long Island, I swear. And my agent,
Nordstrom.
That's right. Yes. And my agent called me like 3 or 4 times in a row. And he said, do you know Ruth and Steve Hendel? Do you know Ruth and Steve Hendel? They're producing this musical that's perfect for you. And I said, yes, I know them. And I know a lot of people who know them. And so I had like 30 of my best friends call Ruth and Steve. And finally, Ruth called me and said, okay. And they introduced me, and I did a Zoom with Pam and Paul, and then Paul came up to my apartment. I was living on the Upper West Side, and he came up with his guitar, and we did another Zoom. And, this musical, I think, Joe, you said, like, I like digging in deep. And this musical is so evocative. It's a feminist story. It's a story, I think, Pam, you described it so beautifully, as did you, Paul. It involves young people making a revolution. We don't know what that feels like now, right? And it involves women who are feeling like they can do more. We don't know how that feels like either, right? Ava DuVernay did an interview with Angela Davis in the most recent Vanity Fair that Ta-Nehisi Coates guest edited, and she said that history not only repeats itself, but as activists, we just have to keep on being active, and the world will catch up with us one day. And so I feel like we are living in a time that is so relevant to what happened in '69 and how far we've come and how far we really haven't come, and what Woodstock did and how music can change the world, and what Black and brown and BIPOC artists are bringing to our community now, and everything that our musical, it's about a Jewish woman in the bungalow colonies on the other side of the fence. And it's also about what's happening now. And those are my favorite, the specificity of that, specificity makes it universal. And so we just keep digging into those stories. So it's just and the music is the bomb. So it's just great. Wow. It's just great.
Well,
I think you're the marketing team for this show. And Greg, you got involved with the show when it was out west in San Francisco, right?
I did, in San Francisco, and I was one of the few people on the team that had never seen the movie. And I remember getting on a flight. They needed some help, and I got on the show, and I got on the flight with the script. And by the end of the flight, I'd read the script, and I thought it was hysterical and just very touching in the characters. And I didn't know any of the music at this point, so I walked into rehearsal and just saw them singing some of the songs, and it really added to already an amazing play. So I did get involved in San Francisco, and we had many days where we got up at 6 a.m. and went to bed at 2 a.m. And we got it up, and it's just fantastic. And now we're taking that next step at George Street, make it even better.
Absolutely. I know people are excited to see Jackie Burns perform 2 songs tonight. Can we talk about our first song we're going to see tonight?
Yes.
The story is based upon on the two pivotal moments of the summer of '69. The Walk on the Moon on July 20th and the Woodstock Festival on August 15th. And that summer lends itself to perfect story structure. And the first song, Ground Beneath My Feet, is based on the first decision Pearl makes to change. And one thing Cheryl always says is, the men walked on the moon, Pearl wouldn't have shook the blouse mound. That it was a summer where suddenly there were endless possibilities, this complete paradigm shift where you could see the earth from the moon, and this feeling of change. And the astronauts were risking their lives. And so you've got this woman feeling all this stuff inside, and the song happens after she calls the blouse man and asks if he would watch the moonwalk with him.
So here is Jackie Byrne singing our first song, Ground Beneath My Feet.
Did I imagine that? Did I just make that call? I can barely breathe. No, I can't breathe at all. Look at me, I'm shaking. I must be insane. My heart is racing like a runaway subway train. Something's happening. Somebody crack that mirror. That woman isn't me. Somebody slam that door and throw away the key. She better snap awake. She's making a big mistake, but she just can't seem to keep the ground beneath her feet. I need a cigarette, which I need 3 or 4. A voice keeps whispering no, a voice keeps shouting more. For some boiling hot, then I'm freezing cold. For some woman, then I'm 17 years old. What is happening? Somebody break that mirror. I don't like what I see. That crazy woman there, she can't be me. Look at my life, I'm reeling. Listen to my heartbeat. I just can't seem to keep the ground beneath my feet. Hurry, what you doing? You might as well your wild. Who the hell you fooling? You're gonna ruin my life. Curly, I'm telling you, don't wanna smash that mirror. Don't wanna break the spell. Don't wanna stop this dizzy rush of heat. A man on my head, I'm spinning. This terror tastes so damn sweet. I just can't seem to keep the ground that's turning upside down beneath my feet.
Wow.
Wow,
Jackie.
I want to see that production.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad.
So
this is one of the few songs that Paul and I worked on in the very beginning. I mean, it changed through the years, but it so expresses what Pearl is going through at that point in the story. And it is about, first I'm a woman, now I'm 17 years old, and she's both.
So I'd love to hear a little more about the music from Paul and Greg for a second. I know you collaborated with the great Anne-Marie Milazzo, who I know has been working with Paul for more than a hot second.
Oh, absolutely. And Anne-Marie obviously is one of our team members. Also, Dylan Condor is our co-orchestrator.
Oh,
so for instance, you heard that song, you noticed that it wasn't just piano accompaniment. There's quite a few musicians playing. So right when COVID happened, we were scheduled to do an actual recording session with Jackie and the musicians, because Dylan and I had started to orchestrate the piece. and we got shut down. So a few weeks after COVID started, several of my musician friends just kind of volunteered their time and sent me, tracks of themselves playing, and I put it together just so our entire team at George Street could sort of hear what the show was going to sound like. And so I think that's the first time anybody's actually got to hear what it's going to sound like, because we made a lot of changes in San Francisco. We made a big effort. The Hendels, Ruth and Steve, are, let's say, experts in the music of 1969, if you will, and they have great ideas about how it was a film, obviously, and there's such a soundtrack to 1969 that I loved taking Paul's songs and then being inspired by like Jefferson Airplane or Paul Butterfield and the Byrds and Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young. And so I've been working with Dylan and taking all these songs and say, how do they fit into this period? What makes us think of 1969? How did we react to Woodstock? What were the guitars doing at the time? So that's what you're getting to hear now, is the kind of fruits of our labor in that effect.
And Paul, what was that collaboration like for you? It sounds like it was so thrilling.
Me?
Yeah, for you, yeah.
Yeah, I'm very thrilled very easily, as you can tell.
Expectations are low.
Interesting. You weren't born in America, and you came to America for the first time in 1984, and this is an inherent American story. So what was it like for you to sort of dive in and sort of dig into the story?
Oh, it was good. Universal story is a universal story, but look, I was working with legends finally, so that was a good thing for me.
Paul, you're a legend. Not finally.
I'm a legend in my own lunch.
So let's talk.
Paul also composes on guitar too, like a lot of his composition. I think the second song we're gonna show.
Let's talk about our second song. Yeah.
He composed. I think, Paul, you composed that one on piano, right? Part of My Heart. I think Ground Beneath My Feet definitely composed on guitar, but didn't you do Part of My Heart on piano?
Both, actually, but I got the initial riff on the piano.
So let's hear more about Part of My Heart.
So by now, Pearl is in the third week of her affair. And again, to think about, between the moonwalk and Woodstock was less than 3 weeks. She has been busted. And, her mother-in-law is basically knows. And so the decision about Woodstock is even more excruciating for her. She has started writing since she met the blouse man. Like, all these parts of herself are opening up. And she knows that going to Woodstock means she's risking everything. She's making that final leap. So, this is a song she sings when the hippies jump into a lake. And she starts by singing to them, the hippies en route to Woodstock.
So here is Part of My Heart.
Enjoy.
I'm the kind of woman who could jump right in and follow you. What kind of woman would I be if I broke all their hearts for me? It feels like this is my last chance to teach myself a different dance. I wanna write, I wanna paint, I wanna fly, I wanna sing. I could lose everything. There's a part of my heart that's calling. All the walls around my heart are falling. Oh, I lost track of my dreams. Or heart that's calling you. You had a chance to change your mind, but left your wife and kids behind. Your heart was pulling you away. You let it have the final say. Woodstock's calling out to me. A couple more miles and I'll be free. I feel a part of me might die if I don't try to touch the sky. All I know is I gotta go. A part of my heart is calling, falling, wanting, longing, calling me. Part of my heart is calling me.
Lisa,
So the
can I have
comments-
some more?
The comments are on fire tonight. I love how much people
Woohoo!
love this show. Yeah. So we have to move on with the night, but we just want to talk about, to close, what are you guys most excited about when we can get back in a theater and see this show again? I can go to any of you.
Seeing Jackie Burns on stage. How about Jackie Burns? Just throw it out there. I think it's just to have community again. And Joe and Jen and New York Theater Barn, you should be really thank you, because like this just felt so great, and it just felt so great to be in the theater community again. I think just telling stories and collaborating and telling stories that are important to people and also that will entertain. So I just have to say that I can't wait to be back in a rehearsal room and in a theater again.
Yeah, I mean, like so many people, we were on the edge of our first rehearsal. Like we shut down the day before I was flying to New York. So if you imagine all that excitement and adrenaline, and then, so I just can't wait to go back in the world and be with everyone and be in a theater with humans.
And be in George Street's nice they have a beautiful new theater. Everybody who's watching, I encourage you to support George Street Playhouse when you come home.
Absolutely.
Their new theater. We were developing projections already, and the set is built and stored. So come see us at the fabulous George Street Theater when we come back.
Let's keep the lights on for everything. Let's
People
do it.
don't realize, to store your set or to load your set out of a theater and store it so that it can be saved. In some cases, is even more expensive than getting rid of it. So This is an incredible expense.
Mm-hmm. Well, we love you guys. We can't wait to see you soon, and we can't wait for your show.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Really
you
great.
So much.
Oh,
So, what a
so
show.
yeah.
So now we are on to the second half of our presentation, the new musical We Live in Cairo, which we are equally so excited about. And it has book, music, and lyrics by the brothers Daniel and Patrick Lazor.
Yes, it's something completely different, but also about fighting for the right things and community itself. Inspired by the young Egyptians who took to the streets in 2011 to overthrow President Hosni Mubarak, We Live in Cairo follows 6 revolutionary students armed with laptops and cameras, guitars and spray cans as they come of age in contemporary Cairo. Winner of the Richard Rogers Award for Musical Theater, We Live in Cairo moves from jubilation of Tahrir Square through the tumultuous years that followed. As escalating division and violence lead to a military crackdown, the revolutionaries of Tahrir must confront the question of how or even whether to keep their dreams of change alive.
And now joining us from their home are the authors of We Live in Cairo, the Lazor brothers.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
How we doing?
So you are only, we've said this to you, you're only our second group of songwriters that are in the same place together, and you're our first brothers after having a mother and a son and a father and a son.
Wow, keeping it in the family.
Keeping it in the family.
Yeah, we live together, so it was a pretty easy arrangement for us.
You didn't have to quarantine together for 2 weeks for us to do this podcast.
Right.
All right, well, let's dive into talking about your show. The Egyptian Revolution was a statement against increasing police brutality, which consisted of demonstrations, marches, occupations of plazas, acts of civil disobedience, and strikes. Millions of protesters from a range of socioeconomic and religious backgrounds demanded the overthrow of Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak, resulting in at least 846 people killed and over 6,000 injured. After reading your show on the NAMT Festival Committee years ago, I was inspired after I was hired to direct a production of Aida in Singapore, the musical, to set the show in Tahrir Square in the 2011 Egyptian Revolution with protesters telling the story of Aida as a protest. So this story is a really vibrant part of history because of the power of the people of Egypt. Mm-hmm. Your musical, We Live in Cairo, dramatizes Egypt's Arab Spring uprising from its prehistory in the organizing of the early 2000s through the 18 days of protest in 2011 that led to Mubarak's resignation, and the year that followed, ending with dictator Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's raid of 2 camps of protesters in Cairo. So many Americans have no idea about Arab Spring, the 2011 Egyptian Revolution, January 25th, Day of Revolt. I mean, I bet most people don't even know that the 25th of January was chosen because this was an Egyptian police holiday. And there are even echoes of the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests in this very story, and even the battles and protests we're currently facing here in our country during this historical and trying time. You, as Jen said, are brothers and Bostonians or Worcesterians of Lebanese background with a vibrant musical theater storytelling voice. What drew you to this story, and what inspired you to create an inspired ensemble musical?
It's a great question. Actually, I feel like I tell this story a lot, but we were inspired by a photo actually that was taken by a photojournalist, Ed O, of the New York Times, and it's this photo of, I wish we gave it to you so you could put up, but it's this great photo of all of these these students, these youth revolutionaries on the 7th floor of a building overlooking Tahrir Square. And they're all like sort of they're on like a laptop. They have like, they're all like, it's like kind of this messy pell-mell situation where there's a laptop, there's like hard drives, there's like Coke cans and all this. And all of these students are around uploading videos and photos and other like revolutionary media from that day in the square onto their computers so they can share it and hopefully get more people to the square the next day. So that photo really, I think, was the impetus for the entire show. And then from there, we really started, we started getting into the music, started making contacts with activists that were in the square, as well as musicians that were in the square. And that was kind of the beginning of the journey, the now probably 6.5, 7-year journey, the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah. And I know your development path is really exciting. Paul talked about NAMT. Where else has your show been around? Because it's been around at a lot of really exciting places.
Yeah, it's bounced around and it's changed a lot. Like it's definitely, they've been different shows in sort of every iteration. Just given that, learning about the revolution, learning more about the region was something really important to us. So with every new conversation that we sort of had to respond with sort of a new draft, and even resulting in us going to Egypt and doing a reading with students at the university in Cairo, American University Cairo. So that's one place it's gone in a reading format. It's been at
O'Neill.
The O'Neill, O'Neill Theater Center, NAMPT, the NAMPT Festival. And then most recently, it was at the American Repertory Theater.
And we are going to watch a trailer of that production, and then we're going to talk more about your Boston run.
I don't know the lights, I don't know the angles, I don't know the meaning. The shutter closes, then I look at my screen. On right, a tent, on left, 2 men holding hands. 6 soldiers center at a frame of brawl. I'll never capture it all. I'll never capture it all. Every person is
Looks so
brings back all the memories.
And that
So
production
what did you? You go first, Joe.
It was directed by Egyptian American director Tabi Magar.
Yes.
And I was going to say, what did you discover from that production? That was the first time the show was really on its feet in a way it hadn't been before.
Yeah, that's like, what did we learn? Like, what did we learn from the show? And
What did you come out of that first kind of run with full costumes and set and whatnot?
Yeah, that's a great.
I think I learned that we had this amazing talkback series that the ART organized with the Middle East Institute at Harvard. And I think, when we were sitting and listening to the talkback with certain scholars and activists who had come to see the show, or journalists or whatever, and there was this conversation, I think like the show seemed to really land, and it didn't land for everyone, but it landed definitely for those people who have an interest in learning more about the region and learning about, that sounds like educational. Like, hopefully, we're trying to do something that's entertaining and impactful and not just like a docu-theater. But I think you do have to come into the theater and be like, this is going to be something that is new,
I know about.
Yeah.
I also think, go ahead, Jen, sorry.
No, you go.
I was just going to say the thing given these sort of talks and the conversations we had throughout our entire process with the ART, I think I kind of finally realized that this show, it needs to be sort of a living, breathing thing. Mm-hmm. Like it needs to be constantly changing. It needs to be put in every different iteration. Like it needs to be in a concert setting. It needs to be, recorded with, different art, with all kinds of different artists and different outlooks and all of these things. And I think like what I realized during the production and after the production is like, getting what this show is trying to say and getting the Egyptian revolution and the revolutions of the Arab world to people in the United States is so important. And in whatever way we can do that is the most important to us, I think.
Absolutely. And I just was going to say, I think theater is also such an education tool. So you're doing the right thing if you're looking at it in that lens as well.
Yeah, we hope. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So I think that what sort of separates your show from a docu-musical is that I think your characters are really, they're at conflict with this country in the beginning. And then I think sort of by the second half of your show, they're more at conflict with themselves, based on
totally
what they learn throughout the journey about how they truly feel.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And I think what's sort of hard, what was the biggest challenge of this musical was to have a first act that really was propelling towards like one of the greatest revolutions in modern history, the January 25th to February 11th, and then trying to find a way to really activate that second act, which is really quite personal, quite intimate, just between these 6 characters. And how all of their politics and their relationships start to fracture.
Yeah, I think the audience experience sort of mimics the revolution in a way, because it's sort of like you feel it, you're swept up in what's happening, and then do you hang on for what comes after, or
because that happens?
we all experience that when we're swept up in something, especially political movements. Like, when there aren't millions in the street, what's going on?
Right. There's this character Fedwa, who I think is my favorite character personally in the show, and she is really like the die-hard revolutionary. And in the second act of the show, she to a lot of the characters, she appears to be unhinged. You know, she appears to like, well, why aren't, like, you need to go out in the streets, you need to, but in reality, like, this is the only way that movements continue, you know, with that one person who actually continues to fight and bring people along with them to the next movement and the next movement, you know?
And I think that's what's happening right now too. And like, if I tuned in right now to this broadcast, I would think you were talking about what was happening in New York right now with Black Lives Matter. I think that's what's so exciting about movements. We can all learn something from each other.
Yeah. Yeah, there are certain big, you know, ideas, questions. Yeah.
So let's talk. Oh, you go.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I like what you said about the audience their experience mimics the revolution, and I sort of imagine by the end it's sort of like, are you going to join us up here, or are you going to sit there and just continue?
Right. Sit there and wait for change, because you can't wait. Change is only going to happen if you try.
Right.
Totally.
Right,
yeah.
right.
You know, and we're trying to get together this album, this sort of songs from We Live in Cairo for the 10th anniversary of Tahrir Square on January 25th of 2021. And, you know, we're trying to fit in this song about the martyrs, the people who died for this revolution, and how, you know, it really is about, you know, how essential it is to continue honoring those martyrs even past the revolution. And I think that's
and we don't use the term martyrs necessarily here, but and I almost think that it maybe to an American ear it sort of has this distancing effect. Yeah. But that's very much what we're experiencing now. I mean, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, like it's
absolutely,
you know, martyrs of revolution. These names that we have to remember and uphold and fight for.
So let's talk about our first song tonight. I think both performers are the both of you as well.
Yes, we're doing it. Okay, so it's not like Jackie Burns is like the master, and this video is the first time we're using electric guitar. So I think that sort of like could be an exciting thing. So
it's rocking.
But
the sound is a little but whatever.
So what is our first song tonight?
Oh yes, it's Tahrir is now, right?
Tahrir
it's the
now.
End of Act 1. It's the characters right before the 18th day of the revolution when Mubarak steps down. So here it is.
Here it is.
I'm a son of Tahrir, born into hope, into heat, into thousands of voices. I'm a son of Tahrir, out in the crowd, on the street, our pain, our pride, our choices. We've been chanting Horeya, Horeya. We'll be singing for days. Whoa, and our country scream, and my country screaming. Tahrir is now, and now is here. We'll wait an hour, a day, a month, a year. We have cracked the wall of fear, and we'll see it crumble. And the airs are on, sleeping in tents in the night, in the heart of the city. And the light is our own, waiting for morning to fight against the worst of it. Imagine freedom, Horeya, Horeya. Imagine saving the moment. Oh, and our country screamed, and my country is screaming. It is now, and now is here. We'll wait an hour, a day, a month, a year. We have cracked التحرير young and amazed and alive with a fist in the air. We are young in Tahrir, we fight against, we survive, we live to be the square. We see it working, hooray, hooray, we write a story of freedom. Oh, and our country screamed, and my country screamed. Tahrir is now, and now is here. We'll wait an hour, a day, a month, a year. We have cracked the wall of fear, and we'll see it crumble.
Yay! I wish I liked my brother enough to write a musical with him.
Yeah. Oh, that's all.
So my mom's watching. Sorry, Mom.
He told me she was going to make a bad joke. That was actually a pretty good joke. That's funny.
Yeah. But who said we like each other is the real
Yeah.
thing.
Ooh, that's true.
By the way, so that's the music really makes me move. So I'm curious to see how the movement vocabulary of the show sort of materializes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. We had a great choreographer, Samar Haddad King, who really responded to the music in a beautiful way, and and a great ensemble who moved amazingly and very naturally, and even though some of them weren't like trained dancers, like their ability to sort of step into
sort of organic.
Their culture really was beautiful.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned an album that's forthcoming about the show. Can you tell us a little more about that? Because I think, this is a show where it's in development, but people are still already so excited about it.
Yeah. We're putting together an album with a lot of Arab and Arab American performers that we've gotten to know and worked with over the years, and Kaya.
Hi, Kyan. We love Kyan.
Also about to have a show in Nance, Eastbound.
And it should be really, really exciting. It's sort of coming together, as we speak, and thinking about the songs reimagined a little bit. Where, I was talking with our great orchestrator and music supervisor, Michael Starobin, and he just gave such a great piece of advice. Yeah, Michael Starobin.
And I know the awesome Madeline Smith is also involved with the show, who we had on earlier this month.
We should have a whole Zoom about her, like a separate broadcast.
Michael Starobin is the orchestrator of my favorite show, Falsettos.
Oh my God, same. I played Jason in Foothills in Woodstock, 2008. Anyway, so I talked to him, and he just made a really great point, which was like, let the album be a separate sound object. Like, if people are interested in the score, then they'll dig into to figure out what the story is, but let it stand on its own. And I think we're really taking that to its hilt and making sure the songs are, arranged differently and brought to
context, like a sort of song, sort of more singer-songwriter context, pop, maybe a little bit more pop. It's going to be really exciting, I think.
Yeah.
We're really excited about it.
Yeah, cool. So January 25th, you can celebrate
25th.
the 10th anniversary of one of our great revolutions, with some great revolutionaries who hopefully will be on the album and the album itself.
You heard it here first. So let's hear about our second song tonight.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, sure.
So this is "Flap My Wings." This comes after a sort of grisly scene in the show where the ensemble happens upon online a photo of a student, Khaled Saeed, who was beaten to death by police. And the image that was released from his autopsy, in many ways, was sort of the spark to the protests, because they saw this young student, this young 26-year-old programmer who was simply just sitting in a cafe in Alexandria, pulled out by police and beaten to death. And the song is sort of about this term that has sort of been circulating now in our media too, the deep state in Egypt, where it feels like you can't do anything. You have no power underneath everything above you, but maybe you do, is sort of the thesis.
So here is Flap My Wings.
They feed me lies, if not then scraps of truth. They fill me up with shit. I feel shame, they fill themselves, they fill me up again. This time on state TV, they said he ate hashish. That makes no sense, they say it anyways. They say it anyways. There are many ways to tell the truth. Just tell them that the youth are doing drugs. That's why he died, and drugs are wrong. That is not done, that is haram. They feed themselves, they like infections most. They let their bellies out. When they're full, they feed themselves. They drive in chauffeured cars, they shut down rotaries. And if you know the man in charge, you pass by, you pass by, you pass by, you pass by. You have rights, you pass by. You're my friend, you pass by. I can see them. I can see deep within. I can hear them when they say there's no wind. No wind of change, but I can flap my wings. They close their doors are beautiful. Their rooms are filled with men who tell them yes and ask them questions on the cost of roads and just how much is left for the function. Celebrating 30 years of this, they rent a tent to celebrate, and then they celebrate as they meditate on all the ways to tell the truth while drinking cups of tea. No whiskey for them, well maybe some though it's haram. We close our doors, we too have doors to close, we too have much to say. We keep close, and in the dark we see the natural thing, that there's a choice between the shit they feed us and the food for my life, for my soul, for my time, for my land, for the love of my home, for the love of my home, for the love of my home, for the love of my home. I can see them, I can see deep within. I can hear them when they say there's no wind of change, but I can flap my wings. No wind of change, but I can flap my wings. A man set himself on fire for the love of his home. A man set himself on fire for the love of his home. And we move on, but we carry that.
That was
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
It was so awesome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for sharing those two songs. Last question tonight. What are you the most excited about when we're back in the theater and you can work on the show?
Such a hard one, but
Oh yeah.
because there are so many answers, I think.
Well, we're running out of
You
time,
know.
answer.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. No, go. No, for me, honestly, it is truly being like the joy of feeling every time you walk into a theater to see a show that you have like a community, especially in the New York theater, that you have like a community around you, and you like, sort of see someone from across the way that you kind of know, and you maybe like talk with them a little bit, and then over there is like a friend and you say hi, like all of that stuff I miss so much. And then you like all sit there and experience a piece together. It's just I'm like tearing up thinking.
Yeah, no, I said to someone last week, I didn't realize how much time I spent in a dark room until I wasn't able to anymore. And
right.
It's the best though.
It's such a social event,
and your whole week is like around that night, you know.
Yeah.
So this on that night.
I will never complain about the length. Like you're getting home late.
Oh my God, literally,
You know?
I could go to Les Mis every night for 3 hours and I will be.
Oh,
Send me to all the 3-hour shows. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love coming together with storytellers like you and the team that we had before this from A Walk on the Moon to just be reminded about different messages about the world. Like I love how Pam said about how that story was born out of being on the wrong side of history, literally that metaphor. And also how you said the audience experience mimics the revolution, just the power of that, just to sort of feel those themes and those metaphors from storytellers is something that I miss doing in a room. So I'm personally looking forward to that. So thank you both so much. And we can't wait to see what's next for We Live in Cairo.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
And
It's really great. And I so appreciate us, you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Well, we made it and it was incredible.
We made it.
So
that is our show tonight. We'll be back next Wednesday, same place as usual, 7 p.m. with the new musicals, The Lucky Boy and Borderline.
The Lucky Boy is written by one of my favorite writers, Kirsten Childs, and is directed by John Simpkins.
John Simpkins, if you don't know, he is making Penn State Theater happen. And Borderline.
And Kirsten Childs, if you don't know, is the writer of Miracle Brothers and The Bubbly Black Girl Sheds Her Chameleon Skin.
It's true. And Borderline is written by Benjamin Velez and Ariana Garber and is directed by the great Sarna Lapine. Both writers are past winners of the American Theater Wing's Jonathan Larson Grant. And we are excited to lift up the work of the American Theater Wing next week. And if you are a musical theater writer, which I'm sure you are, tomorrow night is the deadline to submit for the Jonathan Larson Grant, 11:59. You should do it. It is one of the best things ever.
11:59. You better get it together, people.
I'm helping a writer right now, and he's like, it says 11:59. It's very specific.
Our New Work series is booked through the end of the year, and we have a lineup of exciting shows that we can't wait to announce and share with you. We also have some exciting announcements coming your way later this week about the evolution of our programming, so stay tuned.
So thank you for tuning in tonight.
And thank you for supporting live theater.
Good night.
Joe and Jen, thank you so much for having us. We love what you're doing. You're giving something, you're giving a lot of people something to feel good and to work on, and a lot of something for a lot of people to look forward to right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We really appreciate
Thank
that.
you so much, Joe and Jen, and great to have your support, and great the interpreter for access. Thanks, everyone.
We at MTF have been really lucky to be able to support these musicals and are really grateful to New York Theater Barn for lifting them up, especially at this time.
It was just a great experience to just be back in the studio with amazing people and to create work during this time. It was refreshing. It took my mind off of everything for a couple of weeks, and I'm so thankful.
Hello, I'm Bill Berry, and I'm the producing artistic director at the Fifth Avenue Theater.
And I'm Kelsey Torgelson, and I am the Associate Artistic Director at the Fifth Avenue Theater.
We'd like to thank the New York Theater Barn for supporting such fabulous new musicals like Here and There and Half the Sky.
Well, I loved it. Thank you, all of you. I mean, certainly Sheila and Deborah have brought her back, and this is just a treat all the way through.
It's really nice to make something pretty in a time when everyone's, seemed all up in arms. So thank you for this opportunity. It's been a blast.
Thank you, guys. And I have to say, before we go, I just want to thank you so much for keeping us going, because in this time of uncertainty, theater people know how to keep going, damn it. So thank you.